Hey, welcome to Off the Rails with Eric. I've changed that up a little bit, and we'll see how this works. But I've tried to keep things under 5 minutes, and there's just too much information. Just one article, and I think this is going to be close to a 20-minute video. So I'm going to get into this. When Vice President Harris accepted her nomination for the Democratic candidate for presidency at the DNC, one of the things she said is, "We are the heirs to the greatest democracy in the history of the world." And I don't disagree with that. Now, some people may argue, well, we're a democratic republic, and I understand that, and there's a lot of differences there. But we do rely a lot on the democratic process to get things done here. And in order to do that, we need to have a free, fair, honest, and secure elections. And I will point out that you know Russia has democratic elections too. North Korea has democratic elections as well. China has democratic elections, and I can't think of anybody, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, that would say that they have free, fair, honest, and secure elections. So just because we are the greatest democracy in the history of the world doesn't mean we don't have some problems, and those problems need to be addressed. So let's dive into this. The article I saw yesterday, actually, and it's an article from Friday from The Hill, and it says a federal judge orders Virginia to reinstate more than 1,500 to the voter rolls. I started doing a video on this yesterday. I think I've told people before that these news things, they need to be kind of in a timely manner, because things are going to change in 2 or 3 days. But I did see some posts on Facebook today regarding this issue, and then last night I saw a video by Forbes. Lancaster, Pennsylvania officials reveal apparent incidents of alleged voter registration fraud. And I believe, I didn't rewatch the video or anything, but I believe they had over 65,000 incidents. And so, in the Hill article with 1,500, a person might argue that 1,500 people doesn't really make a difference in the presidential election. First off, 65,000, I think, would have made a lot of difference in the 2020 election. And not everybody's just concerned about the presidential election. I mean, most people are, but there's a lot of down ticket items that are just as important, and we should be concerned about all of them. So here we go. U.S. District Judge Patricia Giles, a President Biden appointee, ordered Virginia to restore more than 1,500 people to the state's voter rolls Friday after the Biden administration sued. Wow. Okay, so Governor Youngkin, he said, "Let's be clear about what just happened. Only 11 days before a presidential election, a federal judge ordered Virginia to reinstate over 1,500 individuals who self-identified themselves as non-citizens." Okay, so again, a lot of things to get into here. Friday's ruling adds to a Justice Department's victory in its similar lawsuit against Alabama for violating the quiet period. Okay, and I'll tap into that a little bit here in a minute. But again, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Alabama. There was another one from Georgia, and this did not have to necessarily do with voter rolls, but they were trying to get, they wanted to hand count the ballots. Now, not the votes, but the ballots themselves. They just wanted to hand count it, and it gave them kind of a checksum. If you have 10,000 voters in your district, and this candidate ended up with 10,500 votes, obviously there's something wrong there. And so again, this one got shot down. Another thing they wanted to talk about was the certification. Where is that? It required county officials to conduct a reasonable inquiry before certifying the results. And so again, if this checksum didn't happen or whatever, they were just basically saying, we're not going to certify the results until we get everything taken care of. I wanted to get to right here. At least half a dozen lawsuits have been filed challenging some or all of the new rules, and there were other rules, but those were two of the big ones. The Democratic National Committee and the Democratic Party of Georgia had filed 2 lawsuits and joined others. And that was what I wanted to tap into that article about. And again, I'll post links to these articles in the description of the video. Now, on the other side of that coin, and I just want to point this out, there are good people out there doing good things. In Columbus, Ohio, this is actually an article from January 9th, which I don't really remember why I got this, but a federal judge upheld a constitutional provision of an election law that Ohio put in place last year, rejecting a Democratic law firm's challenge. So the Democrats are really, and one of those was Ohio one. One of the laws they put into effect was voter ID. They put in some Dropbox restrictions, and they tightened deadlines related to absentee and provisional ballots. So kudos to the fine people in Ohio for doing that and standing up for what I feel is right. People need confidence that our elections are free, fair, honest, and secure. Okay, and whether you love Trump or you hate Trump, and very few people are in between or on the edge, but when he got elected, he shook up the system, and people started asking questions, and people started doubting the mainstream media and the information that we were constantly fed about different things. And one of the things, and I don't remember this article, and if anybody could ever find it, I would love to hear about it. But particularly in 2020, people started questioning the election process. And again, I've forgotten about this article, and I've looked for it before, and I could never find it. But there was a young lady. She was running as a down ticket candidate for some office, and I don't remember what. What happened is she started looking at the results of the election and noticed that in her district, she had received 0 votes. Automatically that sent a red flag, because she should have had at least 1, because she voted for herself. And then when she got to talking to her husband and relatives and friends. That whole zero thing didn't fly. So they had to go back and recount votes and do things. And I believe she ended up winning that election. But again, it's all because we didn't just accept things that were just handed to us. And I feel that that's an important thing. Again, these videos are all about raising questions. The quiet period, that I'm not going to post any links to it, but it dates, or it goes back to the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, and it basically says that a state or a district can't adjust its voter rolls or clear its voter rolls 90 days before an election. Now, and I read a lot of information about this, and good luck in any research you do. But everything I read about it, it dealt with eligible voters. So I question, do non-citizens fall into this category? Because, and again, I'm not familiar with Virginia, but if Virginia doesn't allow non-citizens to vote, then non-citizens don't fit into this eligible voter category, so this doesn't play into it. But that again goes back to the Virginia situation and those 1,500 voters there, and so I just think that people need to be aware of it. And going back to that article, in the Hill, one of the comments they put in there was, Republicans have put claims of non-citizen voting front and center this election cycle, but available data indicates it is a rare occurrence. Non-citizens also face steep penalties for illegally casting a ballot. And I've run into this situation before. I had a situation where somebody had made that argument to me that non-citizens can't vote. Some states, and like California, surprise, surprise, does allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. But I think that first off, if this is, as a Republican, if you are making this as your fundamental argument, then again, this is the response you're going to get, that available data indicates it's a rare occurrence, and I'll tap into that. But I do believe that discussions need to be had about all this. And I again, there's a lot of things to dissect in just this one sentence. Available data indicates. Okay, now that's I refer to that as fuzzy language, and that was a term I learned some time ago. But it indicates it's a rare occurrence, but it doesn't necessarily prove or disprove that it happens. And the other thing is that available data, nobody's doing a lot of research, and as I said before, we have gotten kind of, up until Trump's presidency, I think a lot of people just got how do I want to say it, complacent in their, you know, we just assumed that our elections were secure and that there weren't any issues. And once people started questioning narratives, well, a lot of things came up. But when you start looking at data, the only real data we have about this and is criminal data. We have to look at situations where a non-citizen tried to vote and got arrested and got convicted for that. And there is data out there that says it, but again, it's a rare occurrence. But when we start looking at data that's from crime, I'm going to start referring to this thing as the cockroach conundrum, and what I'm referring to there is if you walk into your kitchen and you turn a light on and you see a cockroach run under your fridge, okay, you have verifiable, irrefutable evidence that you have a cockroach because you saw that one cockroach climb under the fridge. What you don't have is any data on the 10,000 other cockroaches that are still hiding under the fridge, or the 10,000 that are under the sink, or whatever. And so when we look at data from crime, we only get reported on the ones that get caught. We don't get reports or data or anything else about the gotaways, and so I think that's an important issue to take into consideration about that particular sentence. And again, okay, so before 2020, nobody really questioned things, but since then, I think more and more data has come out that we do have some issues with election integrity, I should say, and I think Texas this last year or whatever, they purged, like, I want to say 450,000 people from their voter rolls, and so I can't necessarily say how many of those were people that had passed away, people that moved out of the district, or were non-citizens. I don't know. But I think we're starting to see more and more data come out, again, by people questioning things that maybe the data is changing. And the other thing that I want to point out is that Harris and Democrats, they have referred to anyone that questions the legitimacy of election as anti-democratic. I have a question. Which is more anti-democratic? Asking questions about something or looking into something, or suing a state for purging its voting rolls? It would seem to me that the latter is more anti-democratic. And again, this shouldn't even be an issue between Democrats and Republicans. Everybody should be concerned, because those 1,500 people, and maybe they were all registered as Democrats, maybe they were mixed, I don't know. But the bottom line is that nobody has any guarantee which way those people were going to vote. So if they all decided, those 1,500 people in Virginia all decided to vote Republican, if those 65,000 people in Pennsylvania or those laws in Georgia, if that were to sway the election towards Republican versus Democrat, Democrats would become unglued. And so here's some of the questions I have. And again, okay, is it anti-democratic to purge your voter rolls, or is it more anti-democratic to sue a state for purging their voter rolls? Does that National Voter Registration Act, is that a legitimate argument, that 90-day period? Is that a legitimate argument for Virginia? I don't know. Should non-citizens be allowed to vote in local elections? I can kind of see arguments for both, but it makes things complicated, because in Nebraska, my ballot, I'm going to go November 5th, and I'm going to vote for a president. I'm going to vote for a senator. I'm going to vote for school board members. I'm going to vote on some political issues that are happening here in Nebraska, and so, you know, how does California keep those records straight? Do they have separate ballots for those, for non-citizens versus citizens? Or, you know, I just like to say again, there should be questions asked, and that's what this is about. Um, how do they keep that? Is the data changing? Again, available data indicates that it's a rare occurrence that non-citizens vote. But is that data changing now that people have started questioning? How long has this been happening? Again, Texas just purged 450,000 people from their voter rolls. When was the last time they purged those voter rolls? Is 450,000 something that happens every year, or was this like something they've finally done in decades, or whatever? How often is that? Why? This is an important question. I want to hear answers, but I don't think I'm going to. Why are all these lawsuits being brought by Democrats? Again, shouldn't a Democrat be just as concerned about a clean voter roll and a secure election as a Republican? But it seems to me there's something going on there, and I would love to hear an answer from a Democrat, because I know I'm going to get answers from my friends. Do the Democrats, do they feel confident with our elections? I mean, do they have questions? Are they just accepting that when the Hill says it's a rare occurrence, do they just accept that as fact and go on? I don't know. What can the Dems do? What can the Dems do to increase voter confidence for us Republicans? Obviously, suing Virginia or Georgia, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me in this whole election process. So, what is it that the Democrats should be doing to, or what is it that the Democrats want to do to instill more confidence in the voting process? I don't know. These are questions I have, and I would love to hear the questions that you have. So be sure to like, share, and follow so you can keep track on some of the other videos I post. And until next time, stay curious.